Social media didn't just change the internet, but quietly changed human psychology.
Because every single day, people wake up and compare themselves to thousands of other lives. Perfect vacations, perfect businesses, perfect success.
And eventually, your brain stops seeing it as content and starts seeing it as the standard. So people now don't just feel financially behind, well, they feel personally behind.
And I think that changes everything. The way people spend money, the way they chase success, the way they define their self worth.
Because money is no longer just about survival or security, it's about identity, validation, and proof that you matter. And social media may be amplifying those pressures at a scale humans were never prepared for.
So today we're asking the biggest question of all. Has social media changed what it means to be a human being? This is episode 195 of the Fi Guys podcast. Let's find out together.
In this episode, we are talking about how human beings have evolved from small tribes, small communities, and limited social environments to now comparing themselves to millions of strangers, influencers, celebrities, entrepreneurs, creators, and curated lifestyles. Now, this happens every single day, as you know, and the effects of that comparison don't just stay emotional, but financial. Well, obviously, this is a financial podcast. We are the Fi Guys, so we got to add a little bit of finance into our psychological journey today. Because money is no longer about survival or security. For many people, it's tied to identity, to status, to validation, attention, and unfortunately, self worth. In this episode, we explore how social media affects identity, ambition, and behavior, the psychological impact of constant comparison. We all do it. I know this. We're the same, one and the same, right? And why online validation changes financial decision making often, and how often it becomes a symptom of deeper psychological and cultural systems. We got a deep dive for you today. I'm super excited, but I also want to mention that this is not a social media is bad podcast. We're not saying that, right? The irony of that, we're posting on social media for you to watch it, but also saying it's bad. Crazy. No, we're not going to be that hypocritical today. This is what happens when human psychology collides with global attention systems. And how does that reshape the way we think about wealth, success, and ourselves? So we are grateful for having you here. We're grateful to get started, and I'm excited. Let's get right into it. Chris, happy Monday. Welcome to our psychological podcast. I swear, we might have to change the FI in the Fi Guys to the PH, the Fi Guys. I don't know. Maybe so, maybe not. But it seems like we're on a deep dive of psychological adventures a lot these last couple weeks. And I got to say, I'm enjoying them.
Well, they've been fun, so let's keep them going.
Awesome. Well, same format as last time. We will open with a question, a quote, an explanation of the quote, and then we'll open the floor up to Chris and get that wonderful dialogue that we all know and love going. So for today's first question, and obviously while I am answering and asking these questions to Chris, this is also questions for you, the listener. So feel free to pause at any time you feel like, hey, I need to pause and just think about this for a little bit. Totally fine. Question number 1. What happens when human comparison becomes global rather than local? Why does this matter? Humans naturally compare themselves to others, but social media exposes us to unrealistic scales of success, beauty, wealth, status. Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I feel like that's been said by many people over the entire scale of humanity. But as we do know that constant comparison does destroy contentment, because there will always be someone appearing more successful. So my question to you, Chris, from a psychological standpoint, what happens when people compare themselves to thousands of curated lives every day?
Well, it's going to cause issues. I think we can all already see that if you just look around society, look around on social media, you'll see everyone comparing themselves, trying to tear each other down. There's an old quote that says, if you want to build the tallest tower in New York, you can either work and build that tallest tower, or you can knock everyone else's tower down. And right now, when you look on social media, you see a lot more negativity because that negativity, it's so much easier. It grabs attention, it pulls in, and it tears people down to help build yourself up. You mentioned that quote from Teddy Roosevelt: "Comparison is the thief of joy," and that is really true. But I want to take it a step further than that. It's not the comparison itself that's the thief of joy; it's the judgment on the comparison that is the thief of joy. If you really think about that, you say, okay, so I see somebody who has more than me. I'm now comparing myself. And you could either say, wow, like that's really cool they have that. And like, I wonder what steps they took to do that. So I want for that for myself. And that will not steal your joy away from you. It'll actually empower you, make you feel better. But if you look at that, like that person took that from me and I deserve that, without, yeah, that's going to hurt and it's going to take away your joy. So you need to look at that and realize that there is a choice being made when you compare. There's actually a few choices being made. There's the choice to first off identify as like the self, and now I must be in competition with this other person who has no idea that they're in competition with me. So I have to make that judgment. Then I have to make another judgment of, and I feel bad about this. And I have to make another judgment that they don't deserve this. And you start realizing how many if thans I had to make. And were any of those actually true? Or did you just allow your brain to start coming up with this a very elaborate story of a bunch of yes, 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 if then, if then, if then. And then you just took all of those moments. You just took them all as truth. You went like, yep, that's true. And we move forward with it. We take that into our reality. We make that our new story. We evolved in early hunter-gatherer groups in pretty small tribes. I'm pretty sure the number kind of changes, like 132 people is like what we're meant to interact with, to know those names and to be with inside of our small little group. And if you look into like your family, and maybe this was before social media, but like that's what I remember growing up in the 90s. Like, we knew your friends, you knew these things, but like you didn't have this curated list of like, I have 60,000 friends on Facebook. Look how popular I am. If we're all sitting there, we're trying to compare ourselves. So again, we go back to, we had 120 people in our ecosystem. We compared ourselves to those 120 people, and they're all in the exact same place. So none of them have a plane. None of them have any access to things that no one else does because we're all local to one location. But now we go on our phones and we see all of these people's lives at different stages in life, different places, different socioeconomic incomes, different starting lines, different physical locations in general. And we're saying, why does my life not look like that? Why do me living in Michigan not look like the person living in Los Angeles? Because we're the exact same person, because I can see it. Because your brain goes back to the early hunter gatherer where I can see it because we are physically in the exact same location, but your brain can't understand that when it's looking at a screen. It just takes the input and takes it as truth, takes it as like, this is what's happening right now in front of me, because it is happening in front of you, but you're not physically there, but it can't be perceived that way. It's perceived as I'm physically seeing this. All of my friends, all of my equals are so much farther ahead of me. But in truth, they're not your equals. Like they're in a completely different place. They have their equals somewhere else that they're competing with as well. I'm not saying that it's wrong to try to strive to get better, but if you're using that as a fuel of, I need to get there because I'm behind, rather than I need to get there or I want to get there because I want to get there, I want to see what it's like, I want to grow and get better, you're using a dirty fuel. You're putting in a dirty fuel into your gas tank, and that might blow up the engine long before you ever reach where you're trying to get to.
One of the things that I don't think we touched on just yet, and I'm sure we'll get to, is, I mean, obviously, like, we're talking about the psychological effects on, you know, a person in regards to money and finance, because this is a finance podcast, but also the feelings that we get from social media. And I feel like we feel them, but we don't understand them. We don't recognize them. When you scroll on social media, you get like a low amount of dopamine, but it's just enough to like keep you going. And I honestly, I don't feel that often on social media. It's more of like an addiction. It's like I'm just here to pass the time, right? I think we can all relate to that. Sometimes we get in these spots where like, man, what am I even doing here? Right? I was watching a movie the other day, and every time this scene comes up, I get a deep level of anxiety, stress, like I'm there type of stress. And it's a scene in Goodfellas where two of the main characters, they're at a restaurant and, they're having fun. And the guy, he's being funny, right? And the guy says, "Hey, you're a funny guy." And you can feel the whole energy shift. Funny how, right? What do you mean? What do you mean I'm funny? What about me is so funny? And he sits with the silence and you feel the anxiety, you feel the tension building. And it reminded me that the things that you watch, even though it's on a TV screen, on a phone, on a movie screen, right? Whatever, those things do affect you. Some affect you in a way that you can really feel them and perceive them. And others, they affect you in the background and you won't know till it's down the line. And it might be a lot harder to break and understand and really trace back. So I just want to make sure that we're all more aware of what we're consuming on a day-to-day basis, not just physically, right, eating, right, what we're wearing, but the conversations we're having, right, the things that our mind is consuming. There's this quote that I always loved, which was, you have to stand guard at the entrance of your mind because you never know what's coming in.
Yeah, it's so important that we recognize those things, right? Like we were talking right now about like, oh, I see this thing and therefore my body's having a reaction. But like you can even like last night, my wife and I were driving home from a birthday party with a friend, and we're like, hey, let's swing by and grab some Mexican food on the way home. And I was like, oh man, they have the best salsa at this place. I'm so excited. And just thinking about eating a spicy salsa, I immediately started salivating. Like I didn't see a burrito, I didn't see anything, but it happened. Like where like I thought, and then my body had a reaction where it started salivating the thought of it. Like, and now we take that to basically anything. Like you can think yourself into many places. There was an old story, and it was from India of this man, and this is actually a true story. Like happened to this doctor for her grandfather, got her into like studying fear. This grandfather was like walking in India, and he got bit by a snake. And while he got to the hospital and was trying to figure out like which snake was I bitten by, am I okay? And like in the moment he was fine. Like he was like they're trying to figure it out, but he's physically like okay at this point. And then someone came in and said, "Hey, we know what snake it was. It was this specific snake." And they brought in the snake. And then the person at that moment died. They died of fright because their brain now said like, "I know I'm going to die because of this snake." But according to the doctor said like he didn't die from the poison. The poison didn't have enough time, or the venom didn't have enough time to circulate to kill him. So he died from the thought of, I know I'm going to die because of that snake, and it killed him earlier. Like your brain has so much more power than we think it does. And we're feeding it garbage every single day on social media, trying to get that next hit, that next place. I think most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, when we sit there and we scroll for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, whatever, you might walk away with like, oh yeah, that was fine. But if you really think about it, how many of those things do you remember? How many of those things actually changed your life, made improvement? You just need to look at that delta of like positive to negative. If you watch social media 10 times and one time you walk away with a good message, that's not a good thing to go do. Like I wouldn't go to a church where it's like, hey, for 10 weeks, every 10 times I go here, one time I get a good message. The rest of it, I end up feeling like complete garbage. You're not going to keep on going back. Yeah, we keep on going back to the church of our phone, figuring out like maybe they're going to give me a good sermon today.
So why do you think we go back? I mean, obviously, it's the tendencies of a person who's addicted, but how do we? I mean, on one hand, it's like, how do we break? How do we break the cycle? But on the other hand, how do we teach people? How do we believe even in ourselves to want to break the cycle? It's not enough to know that it's bad. A smoker knows that cigarettes are bad. They're not they're not idiots. They understand that, yeah, this will kill them, but it's a wanting to exit. to wanting to stop, to having, like we talk about often, a strong enough why. And I guess for social media, it's such a weird thing. It's like, well, why would I stop? What would be my why to stop being on social media? I mean, unless it had such a negative, you know, experience out and it's affecting your outside world. But it's like, oh, it's just something that I do. And I feel like, they say that sitting is the new smoking and, all this stuff. But I think social media is way worse for the body, the mind, the spirit than anything smoking or, sitting or anything like that. I think it is and I don't want to, you know, be rude to anyone, but I think this is the cancer of our time. Um, I do hope we cure cancer soon, but this is like the cancer of our time, right? Each generation has something, and I feel like this is ours or our generation. So I want to move on to our next question. Our next question says, are people living their lives or are they just performing them? Social media can shift behavior from authentic living toward external presentation and validation. We become what we pretend to be. Now, this could be a good thing. This can be a bad thing, like a tool. We say it all the time. How you use it. You can use a hammer to, you know, go kill someone, or you can build a house. Right? It's up to you how you use that hammer. Repeated performance eventually shapes identity, and online personas can slowly become psychological prisons. And the key word there for me is slowly. If a guy came up to you and slapped you in the face, it's like, wow, I just got slapped in the face, right? But if something is happening so slowly that you can't even perceive it until it's too late, it's like a snake wrapping itself around you. It's like it's not moving fast. It's not a cheetah. It's going slowly, slowly, slowly until you realize it. It's like, oh, he's not just playing. He doesn't want a hug. He's trying to kill me. Until we realize it, it can be too late. So my question for you, Chris, is how does constant performance or self-curation affect someone's sense of identity over time?
Yeah. This is a really deep question, in that it comes down to like what is the identity? What is the self, right? Like and that's the biggest question of them all. In truth, a lot of us think that we are being and the way that we act is we're being true to ourselves. The most of the time, in truth, the way that we're acting is what's true to other people. I act in the way that I think you think about me.
Interesting.
And we're all doing that. We're all playing this part. It was Shakespeare that said we're all actors on a play. We're all actors in the play of life. And we're all acting towards other people. But if we're going through this life and we're trying to curate ourselves in order to act in accordance with the way that other people see me, well, you're never really acting for yourself. You're never really living the life that you want to because you're trying to live the life that everyone else wants for you, whether it be your parents, your grandparents, your society, or your millions and millions of followers or a few followers. Dom, when we started this podcast, it was something that I like very blankly stated to you, like we were going to run it based off of like our things, not based off of the algorithm was. And it destroys our ability to grow the podcast because we're like, I'm not willing to do certain things and neither are you. And that's why we have a lot of alignment there. But there's many influencers that even I follow that you see them changing. They come on with like these grand visions of like, this is the reason I want to do this. But then the incentives, just like Warren or not Warren Buffett, but Charlie Munger said, you show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome. The incentive of growth, the incentive of how do I get more followers, more money, more power? I need to become more bombastic. I need to move in to what people are giving me praise for. And people don't want someone to come in and say, hey, like there's a middle path here. Like it's not extreme. Like let's try to find a way together. And like there's really no right answer. So what people do is they start finding this ecosystem. They start allowing themselves to get curated by not their algorithm, but by the people that are giving them praise, that are telling them you're doing great, keep doing what you're doing. And they begin to radicalize and radicalize and radicalize until they're like a caricature a caricature of the worst versions of themselves that they're getting validation from. And just think about this in your own life. Like if you had these caricatures of people that you follow on social media that like teach you all these things in your real life as a neighbor, would you want that person as your friend? Like physically, if they were right here, right now, would you want that person to be around you, around your kids, around your spouse, around your family, around your friends? Most likely not, because the caricatures of people, like just look, think of a caricature of when you go to like to an amusement park and they have those caricature artists. They're not finding your best feature to try to be like, yeah, look how great this feature is. They're finding your worst feature and they're amplifying it to the nth degree to make it funny. And that's what social media is doing to us. It is taking your worst quality and amplifying it to a point that people go like, wow, yeah, I should follow this person. Look how bad that quality is. And then we twist it in our brain to be like, but they're also famous. Like they're being followed. So they must be doing something right. Therefore, I should act like an asshole. I should be this. I should do that. We need to be really careful on these things.
It's my belief that what we say does matter, even if it's to no one. I think it matters even more if no one's listening. It's what you do when no one's watching, that's what's most important. And I think that's a concept not a lot of people understand. But I also want to kind of dive a little bit more into the idea of fake it till you make it, right? A lot of people seem to think this is like the best way to do things. Well, I'm just going to fake it till I make it, right? And then, you know, I, I I don't think there's anything wrong with LARPing, right? Live action role playing, right? Um, I don't think there's anything wrong with pretending to a point. I want to say to a point, right? You don't want to fake it till you make it for a long time, right? At some point, you have to adopt and evolve. But I know in my own life, depending on the mind frame that I'm in, it can change how I'm being perceived, how I want to be perceived, and how I think and move and feel. And it's really interesting how powerful the mind is and how open we leave it. I mean, we I mean, if we describe social media, go back like 500 years, they would hang you. It's like, okay, I have this box, and in this box, you move your finger from down to up, and you swipe up. And every time you swipe up, you might get something really fun. You might get something really funny. You might get something that makes you angry, makes you happy, makes you lustful, makes you X, Y, Z. You never know what you're going to get. It's a mystery, right? They'd be like, that is witchcraft. You are dying today. I'm going to hang you at noon, right? Um, but it's funny because while while wrong, they shouldn't hang you for your magic box, but um we're just letting our mind open to whatever the algorithm presents it. Imagine if you went to a restaurant and rather than looking at the menu, chef brought out whatever he wanted you to have to see, you would have, whether you like it or not. I don't want to see somebody get killed on social media, but I have seen it. I don't want to watch political rants, but I have seen it. War footage, you know, the worst thing, right? I just want to make sure that while it is important to believe in yourself and have confidence and yes, fake it till you make it sometimes, to also to stand guard and make sure that what you are consuming, like I said before, is in your best self-interest and supports the version of you that you best align with.
I want to go back to that point that you made about LARPing. And I think this is really, really important. Is that there is a moment of I have to fake it till I make it. I think Dom, you brought up this like when I go to bed at night, I lay down in my bed and I LARP that I am sleeping. I pretend like I am sleeping until the point that I fall asleep. Like we aren't automatic in things. But you need to figure out like why am I doing this thing? If you're faking till I make it on something that like is not true to you, Like, why do you try to go to sleep? It's because it's good for you. It's the right thing to do at the moment. It is required by your body, by evolution, by everything to be able to be the best version of yourself. So are you LARPing to try, are you, faking it till you make it or fake it till you become it to become the person that you want to be? Or are you faking it to make it to like become something else for everybody else, for the people that are watching you? To fake it to make it for them? Or is it for you? These are two very different things, very different levels of suffering in it. Of am I being true to myself? Am I trying to fake it till I make it to be true to myself? Or am I trying to fake it till I make it to be true to them?
I think you see it a lot of times actually in high school students transitioning to college where their parents want them to be XYZ. It's like, I'll just go to college. I'm just gonna, in turn, I'm gonna kind of fake it. I'm gonna please them until I kind of figure things out. And then you wake up and you're like, I am for you. I have my degree now. And they're like, hey, now you have your accounting degree. Go be an accountant. It's like, I don't want to be an accountant. Like, well, you studied for 4 years. You had all this time to change. Why change now? There definitely comes a point where the bluff has to end and you have to realign yourself. I think that's part of the issue that I have with social media is that, and I'm guilty of it too, but that everybody wants your attention. Everybody wants something from you and you're giving a little bit to everybody. And I don't know about you, but when I'm on social media and I get off of it, I don't feel recharged. I don't feel like, oh wow, I just got 8 hours of sleep and I'm nothing on my calendar today. It's like, no, I feel depleted. Why do I again, if you showed this to someone 500 years ago, it's like magic box, it'll make you feel different emotions, but at the end, it'll deplete you and you will be addicted to it for 10 hours a day. It's like, again, we will hang you at noon. Congratulations, you are a witch, right? And we just openly let kids use it. I mean, grandmas use it. Um, my dad cracks me up. When TikTok like first came out, he like downloaded it and he was like telling me about his feed. He's like, you don't get this stuff. I was like, no, my feed's completely different. And he's like, I had to delete it. I was like, why'd you delete TikTok? He's like, I just was thinking about it all night. I couldn't sleep, and I just was for hours. I was just scrolling, and I was like, yeah, God bless you for recognizing that it was an issue, and that's part of the issue, right? But I want to continue moving the episode along. I mean, we could talk about this for 10 hours straight, no doubt. But I want to make sure that we get into a bunch of different wide-reaching topics. So I know the answer to this next question. Um, so I want to see what the people think, right? So is validation becoming more addictive than fulfillment? Likes, views, followers, and approval can be a substitute for deeper satisfaction and meaning. What is bought, what is bought is cheaper than a gift. External approval often lacks the depth and fulfillment of internally earned meaning. So, what does external validation, or why does external validation feel so powerful, even when people know it's shallow? Why do you think that, Chris?
Again, like, these are extremely deep questions. So why does external validation feel so powerful psychologically, even when you know that it's shallow?
Yeah.
Because you're not comfortable. It's because most people aren't comfortable with themselves.
Mm,
So we are a society of people who don't know ourselves. And like we say it all the time on the podcast, it's basically a freaking meme at this point. Like know thyself. It's the beginning. It's the beginning and it's the end of the journey. Is coming back to the self and knowing that, and maybe by understanding the self, you understand everybody. And that's a deeper question that we can maybe get into in a different podcast on like what I mean by that. But if you don't know yourself and you're afraid, I don't want to come with this, but like I kind of have to for this question
okay.
of it comes back to fear. fear of like, why am I here? Fear is created by the ego, by the self, by believing that you are an individual. In truth, if you look at everything in life, there are no individuals. Everything is caused by other causes and conditions outside of it. But if you sit there and you believe that I am an individual and I need to have purpose in this life, and you don't know what your purpose is internally, and you can't give yourself the own validation, what do? We seek validation from other people. We seek to know who are we in the pecking order of all the causes and conditions by other people who do not know who they are either. And we become the blind leading the blind. We're all running around trying to, hey, validate me, validate me, validate me. Tell me that I exist. Tell me that I exist. Tell me that I matter, that I am enough, by another bunch of people that are running around asking the exact same question of everybody else. And it takes very special people, in Buddhism, these would be like the bodhisattvas, or whatever religion you want to talk about. Maybe the pastors, if you're Eastern, if you're Western tradition. But the thought process of there are certain people that can come and be like, hey, I see you. You are enough. And I don't need your validation back to tell me that I am enough. And you can grow, you can get better, you can be where you want to be. Like, that's why I think having coaches or teachers or people in your lives that believe in you to see something inside of you that you can't see for yourself, that you are enough already. And when someone comes to that moment, when they finally see it, then they're the person who's just like, I don't care about the likes, I don't care about the views, I don't care about the followers, I don't care about the approvals, because I already have it within myself. And that is enough for me. But if you don't have that, of course you're going to seek it from somebody else. Of course you're going to seek it from society. And it gets larger because, remember, back to our earlier conversation of, we have 120 people in our little group. If 10 of those people hated you, like, that's a pretty big deal. If all of those people hated you, well, you're going to die. Like, then that's like, now, like, it's done. But now we move into a world of social media where it's not just these 120 people, it's tens of thousands of people, and then even probably millions of bots. We don't even know the numbers of BS fake people out there that are liking and disliking things. So now our little caveman brains is saying, hey, I just got 100 likes. That's wonderful. But I got 100 dislikes. That means 100 people out of my group of 120 people hate me. Like, this is existential crisis that I need to figure out. We negate the positive. It could be equal. 100 people like you, 100 people hate you. I just see 100 people hate me. And in my brain, there's 120 people that I need to keep around me to keep alive. And pretty much 80% of them want me gone. So I need to figure this out. I need to get more people to like me. I need to start playing to the algorithm. I need to start getting the likes, the views, the followers to validate me, to feel like I am alive, to validate me that I will be okay another day, to protect my ego because I am afraid.
It's a very difficult journey, it seems, to get to a place where you are enough. I wish it was a lot simpler. I wish we could just like say a few riddles and you like, ah, you are enough. It's okay. Cool. Um, is there a I mean, the questions I'm asking can't be answered. I'm wondering, like, is there a place where, you know, you are enough? Like 100% like locked down, like you'll never. And I feel like it's one of those things that you have to constantly revisit and remind yourself that you are enough.
The hardest thing about it, Dom, is that, yes, you already are. And like, there's this old story. It's a Buddhist story, where there was this temple that was getting invaded. This was during, I think it was back in China, like the Mongolians were like invading this Buddhist temple. And there was this golden statue of the Buddha. And the monks knew that, these people, the invaders are going to come and take this. So they caked this statue in mud. Like, they just covered it fully in mud. It's pure golden statue, covered it fully in mud. And it got left because no one knew what was underneath it. And that Buddha statue just sat there for years and years and years, decades. And it was actually relatively recently, like 50 years ago, that one of the monks was moving it and they dropped it and it cracked. And they're like, oh no, I broke the statue. But underneath that statue, underneath all the mud, they saw gold. And they're like, what the hell is this? And then they uncovered it and they realized that there was this golden statue sitting inside this monastery for years that no one knew was there. And the reason I bring this up is because that is us. Like we come into this world, I think, like fundamentally, and this is a very different view from like the Western view of like Christianity, of you come into this world of sin versus the Eastern view of like you come into this world perfect. And then over life, over generation, because of social media, because of culture, because of your parents, because of society, we put mud on you, we put mud on you, we put mud on you until eventually you forgot that you were that golden statue. So maybe the journey is to take the bath and to unlearn all of the BS that you picked up to get back to where you were already, to what you already came in as. So when you ask the question, like, how do we become enough? You're already there. You already are. You just have a lot of mud on you that you need to get off.
That is a very interesting story, and I can definitely see the parallels to modern society and how not just social media, but everything tries to dim you. And you have like maybe 3 or 4 things in your life that help, you know, power that light inside of you. Hmm. That man, that is an interesting story. That's I also think it's interesting that nobody told anybody that like it's like, hey, we covered this in mud. It's like, yeah, the new guys here don't tell
You have
them.
to remember there was an invasion, like they left. Like they most of them, they probably died. Most likely
Oh,
they
okay,
died.
okay. My I don't know why I was like, yeah, they lived. Yeah. No.
No,
Okay.
most likely they fled or they were killed. So like no one knew about it.
Nobody knew about it. Interesting.
But again, like they don't even know that that's what happened. That's what historians believed happened. Like, why would this thing get covered in mud? Well, most likely, we know these invasions happened. This is what probably what happened is they covered in mud so that it wouldn't get taken. And then over generations, like how many things are lost right now? How many like heirlooms do you have in your house from your great grandparents or grandparents? That you just like look at, you're like, oh, that's BS. Let's take it to Goodwill or whatever, get rid of it. And that could be a priceless heirloom that you just have no idea. And like it's a complete blind spot to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Well, let's get on to our next question. Next question. Are people losing the ability to think independently? Why does this matter? Why does this matter? Hive mind this thing, man. We don't need to think independently. The algorithms increasingly shape our perceptions, our beliefs, our trends, and our social norms. As you can see, life now is a lot different than life in the 50s. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it's the illusion of knowledge. Stephen Hawking. So, constant information can expose us and create false confidence without a deep understanding of how the information actually works. So, how does this algorithmic reinforcement affect independent thinking and belief formation? Now, it's my belief that we all have that one friend. It's like, hey, you want to do something or you don't know something? Instantly goes right to ChatGPT. Instantly. Very concerning. I will say, even in my own life, my critical thinking might be down a little bit. On certain problems, I'm like, okay, I definitely need to deter to ChatGPT or something. Last night I was putting in a fan, right? A ceiling fan, right? And I've installed light fixtures in the house. I've done plumbing work. I've done a lot of renovations. I consider myself rather handy. Um, but my bottleneck is definitely when it comes to electrical work, right? And rightfully so. Right? It's scary. It's electricity. It could shock me and my hair gets all poofy or I die. And my projection for this installation, I was like, I get this done in like an hour. And like literally 45 minutes of that was literally trying to understand how electrical wiring works. Right. And after I gave in, I'm like, you know what? Let me defer. to the wise old ChatGPT and make sure I phrase it properly. And we got to a solution that made sense. And it's interesting that a lot of people, they want the easy path. They don't want to figure things out. They want to be told. But I think that misses a lot of the great aspects of life, figuring things out, learning it. Why jump right to the conclusion when you can enjoy the journey? And that's honestly sometimes why I don't love reading the instructions on things. Because I'm like, "Man, I want to figure it out. I want to understand how this works." Obviously, I do read the instructions. There's no fire hazards in the house. Um, but I worry that as a society, we've really lost our sense of wonder. We've lost our sense of exploration of the unknown. And I think while we believe that AI is helping us to, you know, better understand ourselves, I think it might be the opposite sometimes. I think it's a lot different going from flying from here to New York than it is from me driving from here to New York. Why? Is it just purely a time thing? But there's so many more things you'll learn along the way if you drive. I didn't know they had this here. I didn't realize, I'd blow a tire over here. I didn't realize XYZ. And I think as a society, we need to fall in love with the process, the journey to get to the solution. And I'm curious for you, Chris, how does one fall in love with the process of learning again and not just jumping straight to conclusions? Because it seems like everybody just wants the answers to the test without understanding how we got to the answer.
Yeah, again, it's hard. And remember that you have to think that evolutionarily, again, I'm going to bring it back to evolution because I often do, is that like
Mhm.
our brain is meant to conserve calories. Our body is meant to be lazy. Like it's meant to survive right now. Evolution has done one thing and one thing only. It is to make you get to a point that you have kids that have kids. That's it.
Yep.
And if that just means get the answers and move on, it's kind of like remember actually back in high school, whenever the teacher's teaching you something and they're like, and every person raises their hand, hey, is this going to be on the test? Like, do I need to actually care about this or not? In life, it's all on the freaking test. All of it. It's all on the test. And it's difficult to hear. It's like I have to pay attention all the time. I have to try all the time. Yeah, you get one shot at this. I'm not saying you have to be perfect all the time because you can't be, but you have to keep trying and keep on going, keep on moving forward as best as you possibly can. The quote by Stephen Hawking is one of my favorite ones. The greatest enemy to knowledge is not ignorance, but the illusion of knowledge. Something I've been saying a lot more often on the podcast and in my own life is that the greatest or the most dangerous thing a person can be in life is certain. That is that illusion of knowledge. I am certain. I know what the answer is. We're moving into a place now where people don't want to sit with that uncertainty. It is scary. I get it. Again, it comes back to that fear. It comes back to the ego. It comes back to that illusion of the self, of that illusion of fear without recognizing the larger truths behind things. Life is really, really scary and it's getting even scarier. A lot of things are happening in the world. You go on social media, you look on the news, you turn on Fox, CNN, doesn't matter. It's all just garbage. It's trash. You're like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to bring kids into this world. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Can I even buy a house? If I buy a house, are the ocean's going to flood it anyway? So like, what does it matter? And you start really, really freaking out. So we go to social media, we go to scholars, we go to AI. We say, give me certainty, please, God, give me certainty to feel okay another day, to not be afraid. And again, if we really think about it, we know nothing for certain. The only thing we know for certain, and this is all of us individually, is that we exist. I am, or I am, or I think, therefore I am. That's the only thing we each individually know. Yet we go to everyone else who sounds certain, who says they know the way. And we're just like, okay, thank you. Thank you for taking away my fear. Show me the promised lands. And those are the people that have led us to some of the largest calamities in all of history. I'm talking Stalin, I'm talking Mao, I'm talking Hitler, talking Mussolini, kings and queens of, of names that we don't even remember anymore. It's the person that was certain that they knew the way. And now we've taken it to a point where we have AI, this new thing that we're just like, all right, here, you take it all for me. You be my new God. You figure it out. If you really think about it, AI is sand. We took sand, we taught it to think. And now we're being like, yes, sand, tell me. And the reason I say that is that the silicon, the base element of silicon is sand. So we took sand, we taught it to think, and we made it our God. We said, like, take away all of my fear. Just tell me what to do. We need to come back to the point. You wouldn't watch a movie where it's just like, all right, characters here, now it's over. Like, imagine watching Star Wars, where it's just like, turn on the movie. Luke is on Tatooine, right? No. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luke is on Tatooine. And then at the end, he's getting the award. You're like, what happened? You're like, yep, that's the movie. It's done.
Yeah.
You turn on Lord of the Rings. It's like Frodo gets the ring. Now the ring's inside of now Frodo's back at the Shire. Like, all right, I guess I'm going to leave now. Like, this would be really boring movies. We spend 1% of our time, if not less, at the destination. We need to learn to love the journey, because that's where everything happens. That's where the growth happens. That's where the purpose of your life happens.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. My next question, and I believe this is a question that we've kind of posed before, but I'm interested to revisit it. And I think it's one of those questions that for some people might hit more often and for others not as much. But if nobody could post their success online, how differently would people live their lives? And change this because I know most people don't post their lives on social media. Um, so if nobody could know about your success, how differently would you live your life? If your friends in your friend group didn't know about your success, how differently would that affect your life? This question matters because it separates intrinsic motivation from performative behavior. And a lot of times on social media and in life, we make things seem grander than they are, better than they are. How are things? Beautiful. Business booming. Relationships amazing. When in actuality, it's quite the opposite. Things are in a economic downturn. The relationship isn't going well, and business is not booming. The reward for conformity is that everyone likes you but yourself. I think it's a very special thing to not conform. I think it's a beautiful thing to be hated, to be disliked for the right reasons, of course. You just don't want to be an a-hole to everybody. It's like, oh, I'm hated now. This is awesome. It's like, no, you're just a dick. Um, Oftentimes when you are dispelling the truth or speaking the truth, people never want to hear that because the truth is rigid. It's it's prickly, it's uncomfortable. And they've been fed, you know, softness. They've been fed, I don't need the truth. I have my version of it. And I think that's part of what's wrong with our society these days is that there's versions of the truth. My mom always used to tell me, always tell the truth because the truth never changes. And it seems like the truth is having multiple interpretations when I didn't realize the truth had multiple interpretations. It's like 1 + 1 has always been 2 to me. And now math is racist. It's like, what? No, what? What are you talking about? So my question for everybody, I guess, is how much of the modern ambitions do you think is genuinely personal versus socially conditioned? Right? If your parents didn't care about how successful you were, if your wife, girlfriend, spouse, boyfriend, husband, whatever, didn't care how successful you are or were or claimed to be, well, how much harder would you try? Would you be more successful if they didn't care? Or would you be less successful? I think a lot of our society is built on pressure. And I know you can relate to this, Chris, right? It's the pressure we put on ourselves. It's the pressure that others have put on us that we now hold deeply. Yeah, I'm man of the house. I've got to provide. This is my job. This is my duty. I got to put a roof over our head, food in the fridge, bills be paid, 3 trips a week or 3 trips a month, 3 trips a year. Anyway, you understand what I'm saying. But I wonder, Chris, how different do you think people would actually chase their goals if they told nobody about them?
Yeah. I actually brought this up to my wife recently because she was talking. I really want to buy a Porsche. Like that's the next car I want was a Porsche. I was like, "Are you buying? Do you want?" I asked her like, "Do you want to buy a Porsche because you really want a Porsche because it's gonna like make your life better, or do you want a Porsche because people will see you and be like, wow, that person's successful. They have a Porsche." And she's like, "No, I want the Porsche because I want the Porsche." And I was like, "Okay, let me ask you this question: If I had a, I don't know, like a illusion making machine, let's call it like a hologram type thing,
Yeah,
that would sit over your Porsche, and you look at the Porsche and you see the Porsche. You get inside the Porsche, you see the Porsche, but everyone else sees a 1984 beat down Honda Civic.
yeah,
Do you want that Porsche anymore?" And she's like, "Well, not really." And it's like, "So then what is it about the Porsche then?" And she's like, "Well, I want the Porsche because I want the Porsche." And I was like, "Well, then why would you not want it if it looked like a 1984 like Honda Civic?" It's like, because in truth, we want it because it's socially conditioned to us. It's other people will see me and be like, "Yeah, like look at that person. They did it." It comes back again, and it always comes back to this of like being enough, of like, "Hey, like validate me for existence. Look at all that I've done." When I started in wealth management, our guests and our listeners know this, you know this, like my wife and I, we travel a lot. Like we get to go and see amazing things and do a lot of stuff. And when I was trying to figure out like how would I grow my business, everyone's like, "Chris, you have to post more. You have to post like how cool your life is." I remember even talking to a business coach and he's like, "Chris, the reason you're not going to be able to figure this out is because is that winners want to work with winners. And like you for some reason don't want to like put out online that you're showing that you go and do all these fun things." And I was like, "Yeah, because that's just part of it. Like that's a very small part of it. They're not going to see the grind. They're not going to see all this stuff." And it's social media to go online and say like, "Look at my perfectly curated life. Look at my kids and all this stuff and like how great everything is." I've been around the Instagram type moms who like you. When I was younger, I was a operations manager for a water park, Legoland water park here in San Diego. And I remember one day we're opening up this new part of the water park and we had to like do this news segment, right? In the news segment, everyone's running around, they're playing inside the water, they have the cameras on and everything. And they're making it all for this one perfect shot of all the kids and they're playing in the water. But in reality, we were there at 5 a.m. The water had not been heated yet because it wasn't open to the public. So all of these kids' lips are turning blue. My lifeguards are like at the brink of death because they're like just getting soaked. And it's 5 a.m. in San Diego and it's like 60 degrees and the water is like 60 degrees and everyone's suffering. But in the photo, we're like, look at how great this is. We do that. We do this for our lives. We go for this one moment, the moment of like, look how great it looks. With outside of it, there's this chaos. Like think about trying to organize a family photo. We all know what it's like. It's like everyone just please shut up and like just stand in one place and let's just get this damn photo. And you look at the photo, you're like, look at how nice that party must have been. Look how well, like nothing went wrong. We all do this because we want to feel like we're okay. The quote you said by Rita Mae Brown, the reward of conformity is that everyone likes you by yourself. That's the reason I say the only thing that matters at the end of the day is when you lay your head down on the pillow, how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. because too many of us are willing to go around and say, like, look how great my life is. Look how perfect I am. Like, I do this and do this and do this. And yeah, maybe society is like, yeah, you go get it. Clap, clap, clap back. You get your snaps. But then how do you feel about it? Do you know that it's true? Because if it's not, if you're not being authentic to yourself, and if you're lying to others and to yourself, maybe you'll get the clout, maybe you'll get all of it, but it will add up. It will get back to you at some point. And you want to just keep on kicking that can down the road, hoping that people don't figure it out because eventually they will. So you have to be true to yourself and like do what you say and say what you do. And it sucks because again, it comes back to, is this going to be on the test? Yeah, it's all on the freaking test. You have to just keep it going. It all adds up. It all matters.
That question that we often pose, how you feel about yourself. I guess it's not really a question. I guess to me, it's a
Mhm.
question. How you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. It's one of those things when you don't feel aligned. It's a great tool to use to figure out what's going wrong. And I use it as a tool. It's like how do I feel about myself right now? And I'll write it down and be like, okay, what needs to change? Because it's never perfect, right? There's always something that I want to improve, be better, expand, learn more. It's like I don't love how little I know about XYZ. Don't love how I look here. I'm trying to change this. I'm this, but sometimes it's just like, no, I did the best I could today. And that's enough. Sometimes at the end of the day, all you can do is all you can do. We're all dealt different cards and we got to choose how we play them. I can't be mad that Chris sitting next to me, you know, he's showing a king and he's got an ace underneath there when I've got, two threes. I got to play my hand. He's got to play his, right? We all got to play the cards we're dealt. And me being jealous of his blackjack hand over there isn't going to help me, but it is going to hurt me. And it's just the theme of today's episode. It's just be aware, be awake, keep asking questions, stay on the journey, and just make sure that you're okay with yourself when you're by yourself. So let's get into our action steps for the week. As you know, we always do a little action step at the end of each episode to kind of help tie off, put a little cherry on top, right? So for this week's action steps, spend one day this week intentionally observing your relationship with social media and your interactions with others. When you go into work today, tomorrow, or sometime this week, obviously act normal as you would on any day, but add a caveat, right? Just be an observer a little bit. How do your coworkers operate? How do they speak? Are they positive? Positive Pollies, negative Nancy's, right? And try and understand how that makes you feel. Because like we always say, you're the culmination, I guess that would be the right word, the culmination of the five people you hang around the most.
Yeah, accurate.
Um,
But
yeah. And we kind of expanded as well because you're not just the top five people, but because typically before social media, that's what you were consuming interactions with people. But now, what are you consuming outside? What podcasts are you listening to? Are you listening to self help podcasts that, try and improve your life to make you better? We're always rooting for you here at the Five Guys. Or are you listening to other podcasts that put down people for their decisions and say you're wrong? You're bad for that. Maybe you are consuming that, but try to just be aware of how that's affecting your life. So, yes, ask yourself, how do I compare? How often do I seek validation? How often do I consume without intention? And how do I feel after these interactions? It's not judgment. The goal here is just awareness. We hope that this episode has inspired you. Maybe social media didn't create the insecurity. Maybe it just amplified parts of human psychology that were already there. And when billions of people are connected through algorithms designed for attention, we may be changing human behavior faster than we understand. With that being said, I'm Dom. He's Chris. Any final thoughts?
No, please like the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Leave a comment on these questions. How often do I compare myself to other people? How often do I seek validation? How often do I consume without intention? We all know what that's like, right? You're sitting around on the toilet. It's like, oh, I guess I might as well look at my phone. And then 4 hours later, your legs are numb and you're still sitting there. And how often do I feel after scrolling? If you got anything out of this today, if you feel like you were seen, or you feel like there's somebody that is addicted to social media and you see them going down the rabbit hole that you're like, we need to get this figured out, please take the URL for this link and send it to them. Just tell them, hey, just take an hour, take some time, speed it up. Listen to 1.5 or 2 times speed. You'll get through it even faster. But I'm Chris. He's Dom. We're the Fi Guys, and we'll see you next Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Later.
Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.